Migrants stormed the United States border, Senator Kamila Harris may no longer be on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Lastly, Google is trying to infiltrate your home and watch your every movement. This is A Better World, and I'm your host, Luis Acevedo. Starting off today, we're going to talk about the migrant caravan that has made its way finally to the United States-Mexico border. Yesterday, they tried to force their way through the United States border. Hundreds of them tried to, and as a result, the Border Patrol on the United States side tear gassed them. Now, the media is making it seem as if the people who were targeted were innocent, did nothing wrong, and were women and children. Although, we seem to forget that, in reality, most of the people in the caravan are grown men who are looking for work, looking for employment. That does not qualify for asylum. I am sure there are multiple women and children who are seeking a better life and fleeing prosecution and any kind of discrimination that is put upon them by the government. I'm sure there are families that are doing that as well. But to ignore the fact that there is several recordings of these migrant individuals stating that they are just looking for work, we cannot ignore that. They are not actually trying to go through the proper asylum procedure, nor do they need asylum, the ones who state that they're coming over here because they want better economic opportunities. They need to go through the legal immigration program so that way they can become citizens. Now, like I've stated, the media is blowing this way out of proportion, saying that women and children are being tear gassed and the Trump administration's evil. One thing that I have to add in this is that the Obama administration did the same thing back in 2013. This is from an article in the San Diego Union Tribune. And it states, a group of 100 people trying to illegally cross the border Sunday near the San Juan port of entry threw rocks and bottles at U.S. Border Patrol agents who responded by using pepper spray and other means to force the crowd back into Mexico, federal officials said. This was an article back in 2013. It was published November 25th, 2013. So what, almost 5 years ago to date when that took place. Well, actually it was 5 years ago to date when that took place. Yesterday is when the tear gas and the pepper spray happened. And we are completely ignoring that the Obama administration did the same thing. They did the same thing. But we get sudden amnesia when it comes to anything negative about a Democrat or about Barack Obama. Why? More than likely because he was a left-winger and the first black president. So everything bad that he's done, we're just going to completely throw under the rug and forget about. However, when Trump does the same exact thing as other administrations have done, we're going to target him and prosecute him and state what he is doing is unjust, it is racist, he's a bigot, it is a xenophobe, he is targeting women and children, and completely fabricate everything that they're talking about. CNN, Jim Acosta, for instance, stated that the migrants would not try to break through the border, stated that they're not going to storm, stating that they were good people, that they were innocent, women and children, when time and time again we have evidence to prove the contrary. Yet we keep ignoring these very, very blatant and obvious facts. Another thing that is very sickening in which the left is doing, well, the Democrats' leader right now, newly elected Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's right now acting like the Democratic leader, and she tweeted out, I believe this was yesterday at 6:52, she tweeted, asking to be considered a refugee and applying for status isn't a crime. It wasn't for Jewish families fleeing Germany. She's right there. She is conflating the situation here at the Mexican and United States border, these migrants, to the Jews who are fleeing prosecution in Germany for being Jewish, who were being killed by the millions, disproportionately out of any other group. Then she goes on to say it wasn't for targeted families fleeing Rwanda. It wasn't for communities fleeing war-torn Syria. And it wasn't for fleeing violence. And it wasn't for those fleeing violence in Central America. What she said in the first three would actually qualify as asylum. The latter portion, the Central American people who are coming up here, most of them are not looking for asylum and they're not leaving violence. They're trying to get a better economic footing, which is not our responsibility to do. The United States has given billions of dollars to their countries in which their countries have done nothing to help their people. That is despicable. We should be angry at their countries for not taking better care of their citizens economically. That is not our responsibility. It is not our burden to say, you know what, come to America, we'll give you a better job. Although I get that right now we have more open jobs than we do workers. So obviously we need workers. And that being the case, then go through the proper immigration process. There's no need for you to file for asylum, nor will you qualify for it. I also want to add that there was a video circulating Twitter where one of the leaders of the migrant caravan was talking to them and stated that, you know, we can either wait 1, 2, 3 to 6 months filing for asylum staying in Mexico, or we can enter the country illegally and then go about doing it. They were actively encouraging entering the country illegally because they probably knew most of the people who were in the migrant caravan would not qualify for asylum. So the idea was, hey, why don't we enter the country illegally? Those who truly are seeking asylum, why don't you go through the process? And those who aren't, just stay under the radar. We'll probably do something to help you become a legitimate citizen. See, this is wrong. This is so wrong. And it's the outcry on the left for the tear gas and the pepper spraying of the migrants who were trying to force their way through the border is I don't see why we're complaining about that. It should be like, okay, we're doing the right thing to protect our nation. Now, I saw something where on Facebook where somebody stated, I don't understand why people think a couple thousand individuals can change a culture so drastically that it can destroy the social fibers within the nation. Maybe not 1,000 people. Maybe not 2,000 people can do that. Maybe not 10,000 people can do that either. Maybe they can. But let's just go with they can't. Let's just go with that's not a large enough number to actually destroy the social fibers within our society. Although I don't necessarily agree with that statement, we'll go with it for now. So, okay, fine. We let these people in who rush the borders. We just let them in, no questions asked. What kind of precedent will that set for other individuals who are looking to get into our country, looking to benefit off of our welfare system? For people who state that illegal immigrants can't benefit from our welfare system, obviously don't know that they do benefit from our welfare system. Whether it be medical bills, who's paying for the medical bills? In America, if you have an injury or some sort of sickness and you go to the hospital, you're going to be taken care of. You go to the ER, you're going to be taken care of. However, there's going to be a bill. And if you're an illegal immigrant, who's going to float that bill? You and I, taxpayers. That's who's going to float that bill. Not them. What about the free education that they get in public schooling? $12,000 per kid is what the federal government spends on public schooling, on public education per student, roughly speaking. What about the birthright citizenship? Now, if you're an illegal immigrant, you come over here while you were pregnant, or you come over here and then become pregnant and have a child in America. Now, guess what? You qualify for Social Security, you qualify for, not Social Security, sorry, you qualify for welfare, food stamps, SNAP, WIC, whatever, all the above. Why? Because now you have a American citizen inside of your family. What else does that mean? Well, now you have the opportunity of becoming a legal citizen because You had a child in America, so now not only can you benefit from our welfare system, but by breaking the law, you can become a United States citizen. This is the logic in which two wrongs do make a right. Double negatives make a positive. This is sickening to me that we are not even looking at the potential outcome in which could take place if we allow these people to just storm our borders. What is going to stop other people from storming our borders? You don't think that we have enemies that would do whatever they could in order to infiltrate America? You don't think that? And if you don't think that, you're not thinking. I am being serious. You are obviously ignorant to the geopolitical world, and you are obviously ignorant to the hostility towards America by a lot of countries. And maybe that's not your fault. Maybe it's because of our poor education system in which we're not taught American culture in a positive light. No. We're taught that American culture is evil and it should be demonized, that we're the only culture that's ever enslaved people. We're the only culture that has a patriarchy. We're the only culture that has taken over a nation from taken over a piece of land, I should state, because it wasn't a nation at the time, taken over a piece of land from indigenous people. We're the only people that did that. I have a serious question to ask for anybody who actually believes what I have just said, that we're the only nations to do those things. Name one other country that has peacefully colonized and put a staple down to create the nation they have today. Name one other country that has done that. Name one country that has done that. You can't, but I can name dozens and dozens, if not every single country in existence today has done the same thing in which we are doing, or not doing, but have done. There's 40 million slaves across the world, but for whatever reason, we seem as if slavery and racism is exclusive and unique to America. It doesn't happen anywhere else. We're the only first world country that has elected a person of color to become our head of state. Yet, we're still racist. We're still bigoted. We're still xenophobes. But, we are the only first world country to do that, to elect a person of color to lead our nation. The only one. So, this discussion about the migrant caravan and what's going on is not being reported accurately at all. And this is exactly why, and I've said this numerous times when we point out the hypocrisies here, this is exactly why the mainstream media gets called the enemy of the people and fake news, because they are creating a fictitious image of what this country is and what is actually going on. We like to make it seem that the issue is black and white and there are no gray areas. We like to make it seem like the issue is there's a right and wrong in every issue, and it's very clear to distinguish between the two, which isn't the case. We like to believe that there's a true and a false, and that there can't be true and there can't be two truths in one sentence, and there can't be two falses in one sentence either. Somebody has to be wrong and somebody has to be right. There's no gray area, there's no common ground. That's what the media portrays there to be. So that's what's going on right now with the migrant caravan. Just real quick, they also stated, if I'm not mistaken, that Mexico is actually going to try and start deporting some of these migrants who are in the caravan. So we'll see exactly where that goes, and I'm sure this story will continue to unfold very rapidly, being that it's the main thing right now because of President Trump making this issue well known. And I also, before we switch topics here and go over to Senator Kamila Harris, I just want to add that, do we not remember that the mainstream media and that the Democrats were stating that all President Trump was doing was trying to rile his voters up so that way they can come out and vote in the midterms. This was all a political stunt. This migrant caravan was a political stunt. The sending the military to the border was a political stunt. Now, we see yesterday it was not a political stunt. It was very necessary for us to have protection at the borders. It was. So, good for President Trump for sticking to his guns. That's something I like about him. He sticks to his guns in the face of adversity. In the face of opposition, he does not cave. That's a strong leader, whether you like him or not. There is no disputing. That is the characteristic of a strong leader. Now, switching over to somebody who attempts to be a strong leader, but in reality is just virtue signaling and trying to, in my eyes, contribute to the demise of our very country, and that is Senator Kamila Harris. I say the demise because she wants to give everybody universal basic income. Although AI revolution hasn't taken place, she just wants to give it right off the bat. That's one of the things that she wants to do, which will completely decimate our economy, which will cause massive amounts of inflation, will decentivize people's work ethic, because why work if you get $1,000 a month for doing nothing, right? So that's why I say that she's contributing to the demise of our country. Now, another thing going on with her is that the Senate Judiciary Committee is talking about reducing its size to 21 senators as opposed to 22, and being that Senator Kamala Harris is a first-term senator and the most newest person on the Senate Judiciary Committee, she would be the most likely one to go. Democrats are talking about picking more of a more senior person to step down and keep her on the Senate Judiciary Committee because she plans to run in 2020, and the Senate Judiciary Committee is a very highly regarded position to hold, and it gives you a lot of national attention, which one needs if they are going to run for the presidency, and she has that right now. So Democrats do not want to take that away from her, so they're going to try to see if they can work around this if the Senate Judiciary does follow through in reducing its size. Now, you may ask why they're trying to reduce their size. I don't have the answer. I will do further research on as to why they want to reduce their size, but as of right now, I couldn't tell you. But I will give an update as soon as I know. Now, I think that she should be the person to actually leave the bench. I don't really, not the bench, but the Senate Judiciary Committee. I say this because if we just look at the Brett Kavanaugh situation, she completely politicized everything. And also, she's being investigated for illegally raising campaign funds by criticizing Brett Kavanaugh and stating to her supporters that, I don't know the exact words, but somewhere along the lines that sending money to us will help keep Brett Kavanaugh from getting on the bench and help us keep Brett Kavanaugh from getting on the bench. Her and Senator Elizabeth Warren both did this. And they're being looked into and investigated. So they both broke campaign finance laws. But being that they're Democrats, they are left-wing politicians. They're going to get away with a slap on the wrist more than likely. You know, so that's the unfortunate thing. And this is, Lady Justice is not blind. She favors the left. Why? My hypothesis is that they favor the left because, well, who's in favor of big government? Who's in favor of keeping more of the regulators' jobs? Who's in favor of creating more jobs within the government? The Democrats. So why would you bite the hand that's trying to feed you, right? Anyway, she should definitely be off the board, off the committee. She does not belong on there. She's helped politicize the judiciary nominee confirmation. That's what she's done. So, yeah, she should definitely be out of there. I don't think that she should be there any longer. I am in total agreement with her leaving. Hopefully, that will be the case. We will find out as that story unfolds as well. Now, for something very discomforting and should be worrisome to everybody, more so than the migrants, more so than Senator Kamila Harris and Senator Elizabeth Warren's corruption, is Google, the company who has teamed up with a country that has imprisoned and tortured 1 million Muslims. And who am I referring to? I'm referring to Google. Google, in a new article just released by The Blaze, is titled, "Google wants sensors and cameras in every room of your home to watch, analyze you patents show." So they just were able to get patent that would allow them to do the following, and this is a quote directly from the article here. Use smart devices to monitor activities within a smart device environment, report on these activities, and or provide smart device control based upon these activities. What these activities can do, basically, is see if you're wearing a certain t-shirt of a band or a movie star, wearing a hat that has some significant logo on it or meaning, so that way they can analyze it, read it, capture it, and then start making ads to suit your interest. That is the innocence of doing this. But there's no regulations on this. And being that they're teaming up with a tyrannical state like China, who is implemented a social credit system, who is actively imprisoning people solely based on their religion, and now they're coming up with a good censorship. Yeah, for people that are listening, I put quotation marks above good censorship, because there is no such thing as a good censorship. There is none. What that means is that you're doing away with free speech. You do away with free speech, you start tearing apart the country. That's the first thing to go. Then the second thing that they're going to take is the Second Amendment. So we have to really be on our toes. We really, really have to be aware of what's going on in our country and what's going on with these big corporations like Google. You want to know what else they are trying to allow to take place with their sensors, their cameras? They want to make it so that way it can act as your personal SS officer. That's what they want it to do. Why do I say that? Well, you can make it so that way if one of your kids were to cuss, they would let you know. If you don't want your kids to watch certain things, that sensor can monitor it. That camera can regulate them. It can help make sure that they're behaving the way you would want your children